Any action taken in closed session will be reported publicly at the end of the closed session as required by government code section 54954.5. Reconvene into open session at 7:03. Is there a motion?
Make motion to reconvene.
Second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
At 7:03. There's nothing to do report for the closed session. A recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of Allegiance read by Dr. Robinson.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Dempsey, Dr. Robinson, Mr. Bender, Mr. Harris. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion we approve the agenda.
Harris, second by
Thanks, Lee.
Dempsey. All in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the public. Email only.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Dempsey.
First one is from Keith Hargis, entitled Classified Concerns. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well during the COVID-19 pandemic. I would first of all like to start by saying that my time here at SKUSD, the one thing I hear over and over again is we are all here for the kids, for the students. It must mean only the kids and students of the teachers, as all other students are suffering. The younger elementary kids are struggling and frustrated and sometimes crying. Not being able to get onto Zoom or even be able to turn in work due to problems with computers or the internet. The older students are already being marked absent and having missing work, and it's only the first couple of weeks. What does that look like a month down the road? Who suffers in the end? The students, and this isn't even their fault. Whose future is at stake if they receive low grades this year because the district didn't care of these problems and concerns weeks before school started? The students. People were trained the day before school started. Who trained the parents to assist if, in fact, a parent is at home to help? With no accommodations from our district, our students will suffer while we are at work. What about the students whose parents both work and there is no daycare available from the district or outside sources? And we aren't allowed to bring children on campus with us to assist with online learning throughout the pandemic. Average daycare costs pre-pandemic, were $125 a week per child. I can't imagine what daycare costs are looking like now during the COVID-19 pandemic, if there are any available, and with added responsibility of making sure that students is on track with distance learning while the parents are at work. Flexibility in our workplace can be accomplished. It was pretty flexible in March and at the beginning of the pandemic. Why not now? The classified staff has been here the whole time with no concern for our health and welfare from the district. The superintendent told CSEA members the RTA unit was going to be working on site upon return. Upon the return and after their negotiations, it went from 5 days a week to only required to work 2, with 3 days remotely down to an exemption form to fill out with the options COVID related. Among those options were the obvious ones if you and your family members have COVID-19, and the ones that affects us all, 0 childcare due to school closure. And us all is capitalized. When our MOU was presented to the unit, get the same respect as the teachers? Are we not humans like they are? Are our kids not as worthy of becoming upstanding citizens like their kids? This isn't about working or not working. We have already proven that we show up when needed. This is about our students and their future and being treated fairly during an unforeseen pandemic that has yet to be finished with us. Thank you for your time. Keith Hargis, CSEA Chapter 587, past president and RHS lead custodian. Thank you, Mr. Hargis. The next one is from Miss Sandy Duran, entitled once again, Classified Concerns. Hello, I sincerely hope you are all doing well and staying safe. I am not someone who complains or speaks out, but these last 3 or 4 years, I have not been able to hold anything in anymore. Coming from a clerk's point of view, and only my opinion / comments, at the beginning of each year, we receive paperwork from every household. Every household. Just think about that for a moment. Since March, we have been asked to set aside any paperwork / packets from the students for 5 days. This was to ensure that the teachers were safe. What about the secretary or clerk that has to handle at least 800 households? Each side is a madhouse at the beginning of the year. We all pull together to help each other out. With all the precautions and everyone learning as we go, in quotes, has made the majority of us exhausted. The moral thing to do would be letting classified workers out on a rotating schedule with their admin, our team. Thank you for your time and consideration. Miss Sandy Duran, RES Clerk. The next one is from Miss Patty Galindo, and it is entitled Classified Concerns as well. Good morning. We are frustrated. Morale is low. Classified employees are the backbone of our district, and they don't have the protections that other units have. We don't have the luxury to stay home or work remotely. Classified employees are at the front lines taking all the risk. Our cafeteria, custodial, and other staff have been working since March, the beginning of this pandemic. The front office at each school site, as well as the district enrollment office, has seen upwards of 75 to 100 parents. Students and staff pass through their doors daily in the first few days of the school, risking their health and lives during these unprecedented times to keep the districts functioning and to ensure the schools receive their funding. Teachers are required to be on campus on Wednesday and another day of their choosing. The teaching staff is also given the option of a waiver to work from home and not be on campus at all for COVID reasons, and not have to use any of their sick or vacation time receiving full salary. When our MOU is presented asking to give CSEA members a flexible schedule, we see head shake, telling us it won't be considered, as if the lives of our members do not matter. We also have family members at home who are high risk and children at home who need supervision and support. When we ask for the same treatment, we are told we have to file for FFCRA, receiving 2/3 of our pay for only 12 weeks. COVID cases among classified in the Antelope Valley are increasing every day. We will be next if we are not given some flexibility with schedules, allowing each classified class to work a modified weekly schedule, i.e., a site with 5 custodial staff, 3 would work Monday and Tuesday, 2 would work Thursday and Friday. All staff campus Wednesday, when more RTA staff are required to be on campus. This can be done with each class to decrease the risk of spreading this unforgiving COVID-19 disease. It is time for you as a board to show CSE members we matter and you hear us. Thank you for listening. Patty Galindo, Southern Kern Unified School District Principal Secretary, Rosamond Elementary School. And I have one more from Timothy Gaxiola, and it's labeled Comments to the Board. I would like to thank our board members, superintendent, and CSEA e-board for providing the FFCRA leave to its members and employees. I do not know what I would do without it. As much as I want to go back to work to serve the children of my community, I'm grateful for the opportunity to help guide my 2 elementary school boys through these trying times.
The next one I have here is titled First 2 Days of Distant Learning. Hello, Miss Sally. If it is not too late, I'm submitting the forward letter to be read as well as following statements at the school board meeting tonight on August 19, 2020. The attached letter is my experience with my children the first 2 days of distant learning and a little follow-up with this week. The only responses to my original email were from Mrs. Gaines and Mr. Wexler. First, the food service team is phenomenal. We are super grateful for their service, and they are always smiling under those wretched masks. We are especially grateful for the West Park Elementary team. Second, my children's teachers are doing an exemplary job of encouraging the children and communicating with parents. Lastly, my 11th grader and 8th grader have been marked absent multiple times because of not having access. They're being kicked out Zoom or unable to get into them. My 8th grader tried to answer a question on and off day and he had been dropped from the class and the teacher had to admit her. The attendance emails feel like I'm being second guessed and if my children still doing their work or trying to communicate with the teachers. The attendance process is an asinine. My seventh grader still cannot view the presentation from her math teacher or messenger. I have emailed and called IT multiple times. I have also been told, just come in. That would mean I would bring my multiple children with me. Our children deserve better. My eighth grader is still using her iPad so she can Zoom for history. When my seventh grader Zooms for Spanish, most of it so full of static you cannot even hear her. She also has yet to connect for her English Zoom. Again, I will say it. This is all capitalized. Our children deserve better. How will this be resolved? Concerned, Maria Copeland. Dear school board members and Mrs. Gaines, I am writing to share my experience of our first 2 days of distance learning. It has been a nightmare to keep it clean. I have 5 children doing distant learning at 3 schools: Roseman High School, Tropical Middle School, and West Park Elementary School. I have 1 child who has a 504, 2 with IEPs, and 1 with speedy speech. My high school student couldn't get into his U.S. history Zoom. He was kicked out of his English Zoom. My 8th grader wasn't able to Zoom and couldn't join her classes, and her science Zoom was glitchy. The 7th grader isn't able to see her Google messages from her math teacher. She can't see any information from her. My 5th grader was in tears because he thought he was missing the Zoom. Turns out that no one could until late in the afternoon. My 2nd grader doesn't have a school device yet and was able to meet with his teacher, and even though the teachers are outside and 6 feet away from the cars, they are forced to meet our children in a mask that does capitalize nothing to stop viruses. This is not a new normal we are willing to embrace. We should be in a classroom learning. Day 2. My high schooler could not access his biology Zoom. There's no way to see or make up what is missed. My 8th grader science Zoom is glitchy to hear. She couldn't access her history class, so she ended up using her personal iPad. This should not be happening. For her English class, she could log on after 3+ tries to log in. When she couldn't see or hear her teacher speaking, when it was nearly over, it was freezing. My 7th grader is having all-around computer issues, and we are bringing it back to the school today to have it looked at. She is still unable to see anything math-related. Today, she couldn't log into PE. It took multiple tries. She wasn't able to join her English. Her home screen keeps going black. She wasn't able to get into her district class either. This is unacceptable. If you will be holding our students responsible for the work and learning, they need to be able to log in without issues. How will you resolve this? I am just one family. I work from home and have flexibility. What about the families who don't? This needs to be better. Our children need to be in school with traditional, normal learning. I welcome your acknowledgement, and you have received this email and your idea and how it will be resolved. Maria Copeland. The next one is from Crystal Magana. Good afternoon. I wanted to address some concerns I have. This has been a very tough time for us all, and I am concerned for our kids' education. I have one who doesn't even have a Chromebook because there wasn't enough, and then another one whose Chromebook doesn't even work half the time. We keep getting told there will be fixed, and every time something is fixed, it still doesn't work the next day. If it's not Zoom, then it's Google Docs not working. This district talks about how important the students are. However, the district didn't seem to be prepared for the school year. I have had to miss work to try and help my frustrated in tears son because he can't get anything turned in or get into Zoom meetings because of the Chromebooks do not work correctly. These issues should have been tested and worked out way before school had even started. We knew since March that COVID is here and not going away anytime soon. So why wasn't the district more prepared? The kids are suffering as well as the parents trying to help them and missing work to do so. This has been very disappointing and hoping that things get better soon. Thank you, Crystal.
So this comment is from, excuse me for butchering your name, Mary Kluzowski. Yeah, you know who you are, Mary. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm here to speak to you about the treatment of the classified staff. We have been continually put on the front line with no flexibility in our schedule. Yet the teachers are given more and more accommodations and flexibility. We as classified showed in March that we were here for the kids. Who came in for child supervision? Not one teacher, only classified. But we again hit the short end of the stick. You might say, well, they were teaching. As one of the people that came in for the child supervision, I saw packets. That was all just busy work. It was the same information with no new instruction given. We are supposed to be here for the kids, yet it seems that classified are the only ones consistently stepping up. We keep hearing that little slogan, we are all in this together, but that is not true. If it were as emergency disaster workers, we would all be at work stepping up to help out, but the teachers are not. The teachers are given the accommodations and options first of coming on site, only mandatory 2 days a week. Now they have a COVID form and they can fill it out and get approved for not coming in at all. Seriously, not at all? This is not using their sick or other COVID time. This first makes a lot of classified staff jobs much harder to do, which we will get done because it is what we do with no thanks from the district office. Second, as community member with family in the district, there is a huge issue with already having technical difficulties. I have family at West Park, a first grader that gets a 1 hour Zoom class and then is left to do work on their own, or in this case, with the parent. I have a family member at Roseman Elementary, not able to get on Zoom, has to do packets. Yes, this family member will be learning so much from the teacher, yet lack of communication from the teacher as well. Great support these teachers are giving. Now for Tropico and the high school. I thought we were supposed to take attendance every day, every class, yet Tropico has no Zoom on Friday. How do you take attendance? The high school, the teachers are allowed to choose on Wednesday if they want to Zoom or have another type of check-in for the students. It must be nice to have all this flexibility and seemingly no accountability. Since out of 9 family members, maybe all but maybe 1 are counted absent on a regular basis, even though they are working hard to get in and work through the technical difficulties with little or no help from the teachers. So as you see, I am frustrated, not just as a classified member, seeing these accommodations and then seeing the effects that it's having on the students. Huge shout out to the teachers out there that are here every day, working and supporting the students to the best of your ability. In the difficult time, you're truly living up to your title of teachers and are truly in it for the outcome, not the income. Next, again, to accommodate the teacher packets are collected by the front office, which is of course classified staff. So we are dealing with the parents and or the students. The packets then have to be sorted by the staff to make the files for the teachers, then held 5 days because the teachers are not allowed to touch them until 5 days have passed. Again, showing us that the districts feel the teachers' lives are more important than the classified. We all get a temperature check daily. If over 100.3, we get sent home. I believe that classified will only get paid 2 hours for showing up and then have to use our own sick time. But we don't actually clock in, so we might get no pay at all. What about the teacher? Will there be a pay deduction from them? It is sad to have such a low morale, especially in the time of a pandemic. But like our last letter that mentioned this, instead of coming to the sites and talking to the actual classified staff, are you going to just ask the district office employees, the ones causing the low morale, the ones known for retaliation in some cases? I have to ask you, are you scared to find out that all is not truly happy as they keep telling you in these board meetings? Why do you not come and talk to us?
Okay, that's it for the comments. So let's go on to the Board of Communication, RTA report. Mr. Coleman.
I'm very glad to hear the comments. Certainly, I think there's a strong feeling out there. I understand it. I think some of it may be based on misunderstanding and misrepresentation. That last comment that Dr. Robinson read about, why do you not come and talk to us? I kind of feel the same way because I've not heard anything from CSEA asking RTA about some of these issues. But I think they're important and real issues. And so I'm not taking them lightly. I think CSEA certainly has a very important job to do. The members of RTA have a very important job to do. They're different. And I appreciate the fact that everybody's putting forth their extremely best effort to do that job as well as possible. After I go through some things that I've got, I know the board will have their comments. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have from my perspective and what I've learned over the 6 days we've been in school about these issues having to do with grades and attendance and a number of other issues, and see if I can't respond to some of those or some of those questions that you have, because I think there can be some clarification on some of those. And I would like to recognize Mary Kluskowski. I know we struggle with her name from time to time. I come from the Midwest where I'm familiar with those names, and I had both of Ms. Kluskowski's, or two of Ms. Kluskowski's students in my class, so I'm familiar with that. So let's try to not struggle with her name anymore. She's been an important employee within our district for a number of years. But here I wanted to start out and recognize all the great efforts, and it's disappointing that I'm on the heels of hearing all the negative things. And there are a lot of negative things that we need to deal with as a district, whether it's preparedness, whether it's technology, whether it's just the whole environment we're working in. We are 6 days into the school year. And I know from my perspective, the idea of holding students rigidly accountable doesn't exist. And I'll tell you a story in a few minutes about an experience I had today with one of my classes. But I think what we are doing from a teacher standpoint is striving to work with our parents and work with our students in these first few weeks to get a good understanding of how we can do this job that we have to do in this situation where we are mandated to keep students out of the classroom and do the very best job that we can. And that's what the teachers are certainly giving their all trying to do. I first wanted to recognize students and parents with what I've seen so far. I've seen my students connecting to their Zoom meetings. I've watched them get disconnected during a Zoom meeting and come in and come out and come in and come out and do their very best job. And then connecting with me through my Google Classroom about what they might have missed. And so that I can communicate with them and let them know, hey, what we're doing right now is just a lot of orientation, a lot of getting our feet wet, a lot of understanding what we're going to need to do over the next few weeks and few months, depending on how things go. And they're doing an outstanding job. And next after the students is their parents, because I know what we've given their parents is a tremendously difficult effort as well, whether they are working parents or parents at home, whether they're trying to manage one middle school student or 4 students at home at the same time. They've got an incredible challenge. And in my daily emails to the parents, or at the very least every other day, I want them to know, and I'm trying to express to them, that I understand what they're going through and the efforts they're putting forth. And the results I'm seeing have been extremely positive. Then I wanted to thank the teachers, the classified staff, and the administration. And I'm not just making this up. I wrote this down ahead of time. I'm not just making it up based on, what I heard over the last 20 minutes, because what I'm seeing is tremendous effort from everybody. Tremendous effort from the teachers, from the classified staff, and from the administration. I had a story to tell you, which was just yesterday with my wife, who's a 2nd grade teacher over at West Park. And as they were trying to prepare things for their students, they were told in the morning, you need to do this and it's got to be ready to go by the afternoon. And it was not what they were expecting. Again, it has to do with preparedness, but they were given this huge task of having to send home all of these things for the students, and all of this stuff had to be ready and ready to go. And the teacher said, hey, can we get a little bit of help? And all of a sudden, several classified staff came into the room to support the 2nd grade staff and give them the hand that they needed to make sure everything was ready to go. And what I saw, or what I heard my wife telling me, was this tremendous camaraderie and teamwork to get the job done. Not what I'm hearing from some of these comments that I'm sorry to hear was so much teachers against classified employees. I tried to express it to Mrs. Gaines. I may have said it at one of the recent board meetings that I was involved in. It is not my intent to separate the teachers, the certificated employees with the classified employees. We are all employees in this district. It is certainly 2 different groups. And in fact, I've always recognized how much more difficult it is in our CSEA group, because in certificated, it's basically we are all just teachers. In fact, I had somebody asking me today about a job description of a teacher. It's pretty much the same for all. That's not true with CSEA. What do they have? 5 different subgroups and a multitude number of classifications. And that's a very difficult situation for them. It's a very difficult situation for them in working with the district. And it's a very difficult situation for them within this situation of what can you do to meet the requirements of your job. Teachers working effectively can meet the requirements for their students, whether they're sitting in the classroom or sitting at home. And some of our teachers have this strong need and desire to be able to work from home. And that's why I've been working with Mrs. Gaines over the last month to try to talk about that. That's why you see in so many districts around us that teachers don't go in on site at all, whether it's LA Unified or Palmdale School District or Westside School District, not only here in the Antelope Valley, but in some districts in Kern County and many districts in LA County, teachers are not required to go into work at all. In working with Mrs. Gaines, we understood where the district was coming from with the requirement of teachers to be on campus every day. We worked to try to develop a framework that met the needs of the district, met the needs of the teachers, and most importantly, met the needs of the students, so that we could still provide the highest quality education possible. Honestly, it doesn't matter what the background is when I'm sitting in on a Zoom meeting. It matters what I can do with my students. And the whole bottom line is, well, one of the things that came up was, when I'm at home, maybe it doesn't seem like I'm working. And as we were talking about working through this MOU, I felt early on that there was a lot of question about how hard are the teachers working last spring when we first experienced our distance learning. How hard are the teachers working now as we experience distance learning? And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you in my 28 years, I've never come close to working as hard as I have now. And I'm hearing that from all of the teachers right now. We're equally frustrated. We're frustrated not because of what whether we have to work on site or at home. Some of our teachers working 5 days or 2 days or are on an exemption. It's what can we do to provide the very best for our students, okay? I meet with my students every day. At Tropico, we do not have scheduled days on Fridays, but I have scheduled days to meet with my students on Fridays because I know they need that support, and each teacher is doing what they see they can do for their students within the frameworks that they have. Now, working with a student online through Zoom for 6 hours a day is not reasonable. Students should not have that much screen time each day. I'm spending at least 5 hours a day in screen time, and it's just killing me. But I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure I can provide my students with everything they need to begin continuing on in their education. But it is only the 6th day of school, and I am starting very slowly. And as I'm sure many of the teachers are, until we can get all of this figured out and say, how can we establish the best program for our students so that they can be successful, okay? So I heard one of the comments being concerned about grades. I'd be very surprised if any teacher right now is being very strict about grades and are too worried about making sure students are failing or anything like that. I'm still working on my initial assignment with students. So, I don't want there to be this us against them situation, whether it's RTA, CSEA, employees or administration or the board. We all need to, like you said, come together and figure out how we're going to do this for the very best of our students. I don't know if I'm the only one old enough in this room to remember the Ed Sullivan Show. See, even behind your masks, I see a few smiles, but I know what we're all feeling like. We're feeling like that guy in the Ed Sullivan Show, spinning plates on the poles. You remember him running around, trying to keep them all going? That's what we're all feeling like right now. And I know for me and many of the other teachers, it means showing up early, whether it's at home or on site, staying throughout the entire workday, and then whether it's home or on site, spending time in the evenings getting things prepared for the next day. You have no idea what it's like to prepare. I can't even count the number of Zoom meetings, the number of communications, the number of posts, the number of emails that I'm doing every single day with my students and with my parents. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. So I hope there's not this impression that if we're not working on site 5 days a week, it's so that we can kick back and do nothing, because that is absolutely not what's happening. And I'd be happy to respond to any questions from anybody in CSEA, anybody from the community, and anybody from the board about what I feel and what I see is going on with so many of my colleagues. Related to that, we don't have a finalized MOU with the district. We have some understandings in principle. RTA has submitted its latest counter proposal that I sent to Mrs. Gaines last Friday. And unfortunately, I have a full-time job, which is now more than a full-time job. And it's always going to be difficult for me to take time away from my students to meet with her and finalize things. But I'm hoping within the next few days, we will have that opportunity, whether it's in person. I invited her to my much larger spacious room to meet, or whether it's virtually online with Zoom so that we can finalize the MOU. I see the end product. And I don't think we're that far off. I know there are some issues, but I also see how we can meet in the middle on these issues so that we do what is the goal. And the goal is not whether, for me, in negotiations, the goal isn't how many days my unit members are required to be in the classroom. My goal is making sure that we do everything that's necessary to provide the very best education for our students and provide the safety for my unit members. I heard one of the comments talking about, only the classified staff out there handing out packets and this and that. And I don't know if I want to pass that along to my wife, because when she hears that, she'll be going, she was standing out in the sun 2 days ago doing exactly that, making sure she was doing meeting her students, meeting her parents physically in person and handing things out to them, and would be collecting them as well. So again, I want to address the questions. I want to answer your questions. I know by Robert's Rule of Order, after my presentation, I'm pretty much done. But you also know I tend to stick my nose in when it's not really where it doesn't belong. More importantly, if you would like my perspective personally, my perspective from what I've heard from the teachers, I would be more than happy to respond to some of the questions that you're hearing tonight. And that was some of the things I wanted to bring to, just wanted to respond to a couple of items that were brought up in the comments having to do with attendance. I would agree, we're all trying to learn what we're going to do with attendance. I've been trying to do attendance the way I think is best with my students, and I've gotten mixed messages from my local site and from the district about how I'm to do attendance. I actually had the local site say don't do attendance, and yet I got from the attendance office, you need to be submitting your attendance, and I was trying to get clarification there. So I've been doing attendance, and then I've gotten a few emails from parents saying, hey, wait a minute, why did you mark my student absent? And all I had to do was respond to that email and say, here's how I do attendance, which I had notified the parents and I had notified the students. Here's how I'm going to take attendance. It's not through the Zoom meeting because I know it has a lot of connectivity problems. I don't think that's fair to the students. I do it through the Google Classroom, which seems to have very good access. I've been getting some days in some periods 100% attendance, so it's not impossible. But for me, I've marked a couple of students absent, and then I get an email from the parent saying, hey, we had trouble with attendance and here's what it is. And all I had to do was then connect with the attendance office here, the attendance clerk at the district office, and say, please change the attendance for these students and mark them present. And there was no problem. There are ways to fix all these issues. Please understand that. We are only 6 days into school in the most challenging time we've ever been associated in. And we will fix many of these issues, and many more will crop up. And we will address them one at a time as best we can, with the same goal in mind we all have. What's going to provide the very best education for our students in this difficult situation? Difficult for the students, for the parents, for our classified staff, and for the teachers. We will do it in a difficult situation. This is not about what is required under an MOU as to whether a teacher can teach from their classroom or from remotely. That's not the issue. The issue is, let's clean up all of these little technical problems, and I'm not saying IT technical problems, please, but all of these little problems that we're all going to have to learn from. I'm sorry to go on, but I'm gonna. This is what I do with my students. I go on with them all. I had a disaster today, an absolute instructional disaster, okay? I've got a brand new math curriculum I've never used before. We started to pilot this curriculum in March and then went out on distance learning. I didn't have the opportunity to really put it in place and use it with my students, but of the curriculum we looked at, It had it clearly seemed to be the best curriculum. And so today was the first day that I put it in place to teach from with my students, and it couldn't have been any worse. And the first thing I did with that class was email the parents and say, I apologize, this was a disaster. Please tell your students, don't worry about it. Here's how I'm gonna make the adjustments. And that's what I'm gonna do, is make the adjustments for those students and the students that I see tomorrow until I get this component into my learning program, this new curriculum, which I believe in and I think is gonna be excellent for our students, but certainly would have been much easier to do with them in my classroom. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it all out. And so I guess that's what I want to reassure the board and the administration and the community about is we've only got 6 days under our belt. It may take us 16 more days, and we will figure it out one item at a time as we go on. But the bottom line is, for the safety of the students and the safety of the staff, we've got to make sure that we approach it properly. And I'm sad to say, that means currently it means distance learning. I got my room set up for the hybrid model. I've got my room set up and ready to go. I can get 17 students in my classroom, which is almost okay because one of my classes is 35. So if I split them up, it's sort of 17. I'll have 17 and a half. I don't know who the half student will be yet, but I'll figure that out. They're not 6 feet apart. There's no way to do it. They're about 5 and a half, hopefully far enough, with the disinfecting that I'll have to do in between each period. Right now, in the current health situation of our country and here in Southern California, it's just not safe. It's not safe for our students. It's not safe for our staff. I go into our front office and I feel for our classified employees because it's very tight. It's very congested with all the people in there. And I feel incredibly uncomfortable, but I know I've got to get things done going into there. So there's a lot of issues, and I'm sorry to go on and on and on. But with my experience and with my understanding of the district, I'd like to be somebody who can be a resource for the board, answer the questions you have. You're going to hear from the community. You're going to hear from CSEA. I'd like to make sure you hear from the teachers and from RTA as well. Okay, so I apologize again for taking too much time, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Any questions? No? Okay, CSEA report. We have Dr. Robinson that's going to report that.
Okay, so it says, Dear Board, it's been a while since you had an update from CSEA. Sadly, classified employees are unhappy with the lack of attention and concern from the district. Yet again, we are being treated like second-class citizens. In this time of a pandemic, instead of coming together and actually worrying about all the employees, we again see that teachers have better accommodations than classified employees. First, it was the teachers only needing to be on campus 2 days a week, Wednesday and another day of their choosing. Now they have a form that exempts them from coming on campus at all for COVID-related reasons. High risk, home to care for child due to school closures and others. Yet when classified asks for a little flexibility, we get a head shake indication of no. Classified employees have the same concerns as teachers. I would like everyone here to please tell every classified member how it is that teachers' lives are more important than ours. Please do not start with they are not, because if that was true, every teacher would be on campus every day with the same accommodations that we have. Instead, the lower paid classifications have to choose between paying bills and putting food on the table or supporting their children during this frustrating time of distance learning. Teachers are being allowed to make themselves at home readily available to their children, providing them support while other students in the district continue to suffer due to the ongoing technical issues that have yet to be resolved. Yet these very teachers are not showing support for these students and continue to mark them absent, even though they are aware of that these technical difficulties still exist. All the meanwhile, classified employees are required to be on the front lines while their children are at home without adequate support and continue to struggle during these difficult times. Because the district cannot offer childcare and does not provide the same respect and consideration when these are all students of our district and should be treated fairly and equally. Our classified employees are only given an option, thanks to the federal government, to take up to 12 weeks off with a pay cut to support and care for their children at home. If this mess does not get cleaned, then it will affect ADA, causing the district to lose more money. And classified employees and our students are always the first to take a hit on budget cuts. This is a school district. We are here for the education of our kids. We have to be there for other people's kids, including some of our teachers' kids. Yet we have to juggle work or get 2/3 pay to be there for our own children. Where is the equality in this? We are all supposed to be essential, all supposed to be on the front lines. How can all the classified adequately support teachers when they are not on campus? It shows that the district deliberately and knowingly pushes classified aside, knowing that they have to choose between their jobs and their children's education. Yet you readily hand everything to the teachers. Next, in case you are not aware, there are, I believe, over 20 air conditioners that are out all over the district on the first day of school. Some still not fixed. My question, why would this not be handled over the summer? As I know, some had requisition forms sent in before last school year ended. Second question, maybe if there was one maintenance administrator instead of two, seeing over two maintenance employees, with only one being an air conditioning person to my knowledge. That is a lot for one man, and he is doing his best. If we cut back on administrators, maybe we could afford more employees to get items fixed in a more timely manner. In this case, considering staff have to change classrooms if there is a classroom available so they don't get heat stroke. Another disruption on top of problems of distance learning. This again mostly affects classified and either substitute or new teachers. And well, we have discussed the treatment of these staff members already. If there was an air conditioner down at the district office, would you be waiting over a week to have it fixed? I seriously doubt it. Yet we have to because there is only one man trying to fix over 20 air conditioners. You were told in a previous meeting that the teacher revolving door was mostly sped and normal. Please do some homework and look up how many teachers that were tenured have left in recent years compared to your classified staff. We have stuck around for the long haul because we love our students, our jobs, our community, and it is time to start showing us the respect we deserve and not walking on us like a doormat that can be replaced. We have come here today to ask your help in our fight to seem as equal to all faculty members, not to be seen as a subclass of people. With elections coming up, I hope we have the board's support. We would like to continue to work with the district, but would urge the board to give them better directives. The superintendent is your employee, not the other way around. Again, please address us classified employees as to why teachers' lives are more important than ours. That is what the district and the board are showing us by allowing these extreme accommodations to be so unfairly one-sided. It has no name, it just says CSA report.
Mrs. Sanchez, can I respond to one thing?
Yes, you can.
It's been brought up a number of times about FFCRA, and that's the ability for employees, state employees to take the required, or to take leave time under the COVID environment. And I agree with what my CSEA colleagues are saying, is that, very difficult to look at that choice of having to take 12 weeks of leave time. The first 10 days are at full pay, using your normal leave time, and then the next 10 weeks are at 2/3 pay. And that's something that I had to describe to my members as we were looking at our required return to work. And without the district's flexibility for the teachers and having the ability for some of our teachers to have an exemption or to have a reduced requirement to working on campus, we would have had a significant number of teachers having to apply for the FFCRA, which was their right to do. But if they're going to be out on leave, then you do not have a teacher in the classroom at all, 5 days a week for those students. And I don't know how the district could expect to provide any kind of an education for those students while those teachers are out on leave time. I have teachers coming to me now saying, if I stay home sick, and can I still teach from home, even though I don't have an exemption? I'm still required to be at work 2 days a week on a Wednesday, and I'm sick. I don't want to have a sub because the sub can't do anything. The sub can't log into Zoom. The sub can't log into the classroom. The sub cannot manage the classes during this distance learning, but the teacher can remotely. So I fully understand where our colleagues are coming from. It is not, it's two different playing fields. I'm not saying it's not a level playing field. It's not we're here and they're here, as is being characterized. It's that they are different playing fields. It's like a football field and a baseball diamond. They're different, but we are both playing the game as best we can. But if a teacher is not in the classroom, you're not going to have any education. For my 170 students, if I can't be in the classroom, if I'm just sick and I need to stay home, there's no way a sub can teach those. And so this is not even part of the MOU. We haven't even had a chance to really even talk about this. Can I?
Save that for next week.
Yeah. Can I still, without using a leave day, work remotely? Because I can work remotely. I can do that. I can do my job as completely remotely, and it doesn't have to be from home, but of course it would be. Can I do the same job remotely or in the classroom? The answer is yes, I can. It's not that teachers don't want to work. We are working harder than ever. So I really need my colleagues, and I need the board, and I need the community to understand. This has nothing to do with trying to work less, because that's not going to happen. It's just how are we going to provide the very best we can for our students. And thank you for letting me interject.
Thank you, Mr. Corwin. Next on the agenda is a CBO report. Mr. Park.
Thank you, President Sanchez. And thank you, Mr. Coleman, for your initial comments about remaining positive, because truly, I think it's extremely important right now, more than anything else, is for everyone to remain positive. And I just, I am the classified member of the cabinet president board meetings, and I speak to cabinet staff, classified staff, typically in my comments here at the beginning of the meeting. Mostly because they tend to be directly underneath my supervision, but I think it's important that we call them out. And I do respect them, and I feel that they are respected in this district, and I hope that we can get that back quickly. I know we're hearing a lot of angst and a lot of concern, and I understand that as well. But truly, for an organization to function successfully, we have to be an organization that's about us. There cannot be us over here and them over there, and we just have to be a united us. And so I thank you for your attempts to articulate that, I think, this evening, and I will just say, that's what I want to articulate as well, is this is a partnership. We're all in it for the same reason, and we need to keep moving forward. To that end, I just want to call out again my food service, transportation, and business office staff. The food service has been working really diligently throughout this pandemic to provide food to students throughout the district and this community in ways that are different and atypical, and took new thinking and new work, and they've done it well. So I appreciate that, and they continue to do it well and do it differently, and they're serving from every school site right now. And they're also delivering food throughout the community in the mornings by the school buses. Having said that, my transportation folks are making incredible changes in their own workspace. They are one of the areas in the district that does not have daily custodial services, as we have limited custodial services throughout. They have relied on their own efforts to keep their space clean. They've used the time right now where they're not doing their normal routine to focus on their own space and clean it thoroughly, give it a facelift. It looks different, smells different, feels different. It's nice to see that they've had a little bit of time to take some pride in their own space and celebrate who they are and what they do, and make that improvement for themselves. I appreciate Ashley Stovall stepping up as acting supervisor and helping to lead that process. She's done a great job. Also, Scott Sexton, the lead mechanic out there. They have not only had to focus on the COVID things, but they're working on looking forward and being future thinking. And Scott has helped to take the next step and get us moving on a bus replacement program. And he's partnered with one of the local bus companies and the local air quality board to start the process of writing a grant and see where we can go in terms of when those next round of grants become available, having our application in and ready to go so that we can have a bus, potentially have a new bus on the fleet, which is great that we're thinking forward. And then last, I always forget to mention my 3 direct colleagues in the business office, Talia Bishop, Cami Davies, and Joanna Herrera. They've been on call and at the ready throughout this pandemic, like many of our colleagues here in the district office. And those are CSEA members and not alike. But they do great work all the time, and they are truly partners with everyone in the district. And I just want to say thank you to them for their efforts, their support of me, of everything in the district that we ask them to do. Always ready to be available and on deck. And I think that it really is it's a display of what this district is and who they are. They're here to make sure that we are as good as we can be every day and ready to go. So they're agile and flexible, and that's what we all need to be right now. So thank you to everyone for doing their part. I appreciate all of you, and I look forward to continuing to try to strengthen that relationship and move forward. Thanks.
Mr. Barr?
Yeah, we have the 4 vans deployed every morning.
And where are they going?
So the location, I didn't bring the locations with me, I apologize for that, but, they're on the website and there have been, communications gone out to the community.
One is on the corner of Holiday and 60th, because that's
That's what that one's over there.
the food distribution.
So we're trying to get into the communities where they can just walk up there and get it and don't have to worry about driving to the school.
Correct. So, when we go out, we're trying to go out to the furthest areas, sorry, thank you. Trying to go out to the furthest areas of the district to make sure that we're reaching those folks and are accessible to them. And utilizing existing bus stops, but not every bus stop. Because we want, wherever we stop to deliver food, we want to make sure that it's a safe location. And so we don't want students, for example, having to cross the street on a busy intersection, at a busy intersection or on a busy road. So we're trying to hit one side and hit the other if we need to. But we hit either high density areas or remote areas as our primary objective.
And we had that comment that I'm familiar with too, is air conditioning. What's going on with the maintenance with air conditioning? I mean,
So the air conditioners are old. They need a lot of attention, and with any sort of aging equipment, it is unpredictable. It needs service, and this amount of heat obviously is when it's going to be the most vulnerable to having challenges. I appreciate the comment that our CSEA staff is doing what they can to keep it running. And certainly Chase has worked very, very hard to do what he can to stay on top of it during this time. But the heat is intense and the pressure is intense. And to some extent, I don't want to say it is what it is, but I'm going to say it is what it is. Short of a wholesale replacement of some of these pieces of equipment, they are in high need of constant service. I don't think we make any denial that we have limited staffing and staff capacity to move on all of these things all the time. But as we noted at the last board meeting, we've made recent hires in the grounds department, and those are adding back capacity to classified ranks and make sure that we can maintain our facilities and our sites. And so we're making progress back as we continue to work on our fiscal, our financial health. That means looking at where we need to backfill and grow as well as change. And so over time, we will see, I think, investments in not only human capacity, but also capital capacity. And so the two will balance out together and we'll have better situations.
this is, we're in the middle of an extreme heat wave here.
Yep.
I hate to say luckily, we don't have all the children in school. Is it a true statement that we are moving people from classroom to classroom, trying to find a cool classroom for them?
I am unaware of that, but
And also we have, I know Chase, and he's a good hard worker and he does know his air conditioning stuff, but I'm a little familiar with air conditioning stuff too. And if you have 20 units down, you got one guy, you're in big trouble. Do we have anybody that we can call in and help?
so we have an outside resource who's been partnering with Chase. Raleigh is taking some much deserved vacation time right now. And Quinn has been picking up both of them. And before Raleigh left, he coordinated some support so that we would have it if needed. And that support has been on site.
And luckily, we do have empty classrooms, and that is a plus that we can move them around. And I don't see anything wrong with that. If we have a hot room, let's move them to a cool room. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we do have all these down, I understand what they were saying because I've been in many jobs before, is when the boss's air conditioner got shut down, it got fixed quickly. And when mine did, we sat out there and we sweat, we worked, and we just kept going. So I don't want them to feel that way, because I'm sure if our district office air conditioners were down, we'd have them fixed ASAP. But if that's not a true statement, which it's hard for me to believe that we have kids in classrooms where they're hot, having all the extra classrooms we have, we should be able to move them around and keep it cold. But that needs to be something we need to really look at.
Mr. Bender, first, let me say that this tonight is the first I've ever heard at this board meeting that I have even one air conditioner that's not working, much less 20. So I can promise you tomorrow morning, I will look into that, because I communicate quite often with Raleigh, Davis, and Quinn. And so Mr. Davis is on vacation, as Mr. Barth mentioned, throughout the rest of this week. We do not have any students on our campuses because we are not permitted to educate any child on any school campus at this time until Kern County is off of the governor's list, or we are successful in applying for a waiver should that happen. We cannot bring any children on the campus for any educational purpose. So all of the rooms are void of children at this time. So I will look into I know that last summer we did a lot of work, and there we had some actually new air conditioners purchased, especially out, I believe, at Tropico Middle School. There were some new ones placed last year. So I will look into where are these 20 existing air conditioners that are not working.
And I was going to ask along those same lines. I think last year we did do, 10 across the district. You mentioned capital improvement. Do we have a capital improvement plan with prioritized equipment replacement as stuff ages? Where, say, hey, we did 10 air conditioners last year. We plan to do 20 a year for the next 5 years. Understanding that the money not be there may not be surplus certain years, but if it is, here's our prioritized list of what we want to attack. Do we have a capital improvement plan like that? And if not, how soon can you have one?
So we don't have one at this point. That's one of the priorities for this current year, is to pull together a capital needs plan for the district.
Okay, so we're talking January? Prioritized plan?
Potentially, we could have one then, yeah.
Okay, so potentially one January?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the list, we have the Associate Superintendent, Ms. Hargis.
Good evening, and this certainly has been our most different start of school that we have ever had, and hopefully we will definitely not have again. But I do want to say thank you to the teachers that have been working hard. I've heard from several that, they have never worked harder, and working from home, there's really not a separation from, when they are teaching to, getting their, things ready for the following day. When you're at school, sometimes you get that opportunity to drive to work and back home, and there's a little bit of a separation, but it certainly has been a challenge. It's been a challenge for everybody, but I do commend the teachers for their hard work and many of the things that they've had to learn kind of on the fly. But then again, to all of our classifications, everybody has worked so hard. And there have been some issues. They've come together to try to rectify some of those situations. I had the opportunity to be out at Tropico this afternoon I think I was going out there to help some staff that were having just some difficulties. By the time I got out there, they had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Adams and Dr. Bolton, and they had resolved those situations that concerned them. And then they were sharing back with some other staff. So I had the opportunity to meet with that small group. It was a small group of ACES staff. And just reassured them that, if you have concerns, just make sure that you let somebody know, you let your site
administrator knows so that they're definitely aware that there's an issue. But that certainly, anybody can contact me at any time. You know, you can call me on the phone, email, you know, text me. Texting is probably the quickest way to get a response. You know, I let them know that Mr. Barth is available. Mrs. Gaines always has an open door as well. So, you know, just patience and grace as we, you know, move through this crazy time. You know, I had the opportunity to talk also with a few teachers that were out there, and, you know, they were very excited, you know, about just the start of school and how things had gone. And, you know, things are going a little bit better, you know, from, you know, where they started last week to today. I talked with a brand new teacher. She was very excited. She just was very animated and telling me about all the great things that she was doing in the classroom and how her students were excited to come back to school and just those communications. But she was just very excited to be here, to have a job, and to work with kids. And I told her, I said, you know, I said, it's one of those things. This is the craziest start of year that we have ever had. I said, you know what? And if you can make it through this, your next 30 years will be a breeze. So certainly, you know, definitely not, you know, the way that Brandy, you know, it's hard enough for teachers who have been here for 30 years, let alone teachers who are just starting out. So I know that certainly we will continue to support all of our staff, you know, and just give those brand new teachers a little bit of extra love. I have been working on assigning mentor teachers to our PIP, STIPs, and interns, and then also for our induction staff, we have those mentors assigned as well. So, you know, everything's, you know, kind of moving right along. But again, you know, thank you everybody for your patience and grace as we, you know, get started to this crazy school year, and just, you know, best of luck as we move forward, and hopefully we will have a great year, and before long we'll have our students back in class. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hargis. Superintendent's report, Mrs. Gaines.
Good evening, and I'd like to welcome one who has joined us this evening. I have a couple of things that I want to say. First and foremost, to our parents and our students out there, I want the parents to know that I've really appreciated. I've received a few emails this past 6 days. A lot of it has to do with difficulties in being for their student being able to get on the Zoom, and we understand that. I want to commend Dan Wexler and his IT team, because it has not been easy for them these past 6 days. They've really tried to delve into the problem and to find out there were some separate issues. It was not just one blanket problem throughout the district. And what we found out yesterday was that Zoom came out with a blanket statement across the state of California apologizing that they've had issues that have impacted the local educational agencies up and down the state. So the statement says, we have resolved the issue causing users to be unable to join meetings and webinars throughout the state of California. So we're hoping that this will help us resolve the problems that our children and our parents are experiencing. And I also want to say to our parents of my second graders, we purchased new Chromebooks for all of our second graders. It was rather expensive, but we're very, very excited to get those and to release those in the next few days for all of our second graders. And once the second graders have these new Chromebooks, then we can say that Southern Kern is a 1-to-1 district with all of our students K through 12 having a device. So we're optimistic. Parents, thank you for your emails. I hear you. And I want you to know that hopefully in the next few days, this will come to an end. These problems will come to an end. I suppose there will always be a few, but the majority of these problems will go away. and our children will be able to make the connections with their teachers daily, as I know our teachers are so much longing to have happen. They're doing their best to make it happen. I also wanted to say to RTA and Mr. Quellman, we are so close to having an MOU, and so maybe one more meeting and we'll be able to come to that realization. We're very, very close. Yesterday, Mrs. Hargis and I had day one of negotiations with CSEA, and although we're not close to an MOU yet, it was great to meet with that team, and also Anna Osborne from CSEA California, and to begin the process of getting an MOU with them as well. Let's see. One last thing I want to say is that we've been talking about paying back Kern County and talking about it for some time, but I'm very happy to say that County on August 3rd took the remainder of the funds that we owed them. It was actually $1,386,000 and some odd dollars and cents. And I received a phone call from them a couple of days ago telling me that within a few days, I will receive a letter from Kern County telling me that they no longer have stay and rescind power over our board agenda. And they're very, very proud of how fast the district this past 2 years has worked to pay back that money and make all the adjustments that had to be made the year before I arrived here. So I just wanted to say that we can say that we're debt-free to Kern County and moving forward with creating a budget surplus. Thank you.
Some good news to hear that we're debt-free, so I think we got some good news today. Board member communication started from Dan Street.
All right, I'd like to echo Mrs. Gaines' comments for Dan Wexler and crew. I'm an MMA fan, and they're taking wicked body shots right now. They are getting pummeled. Okay, so Dan, Gary, Sean, and Ken. Did I forget anybody? That's all of them, right?
Mike.
Oh, Mike. Okay, and Mike out there. Good job. Keep digging deep. Take them body shots, roll with them, and lead us to the promised land. Because I got faith in you guys. I'm a hard person on HR. If anybody listens to these meetings, I brutalize HR every time, just because I'm an HR cat. But for Lisa Lopez and crew, I want to give you props for this COVID coordinator, taking the bull by the horns, getting the PP out there, working the waivers for folks, even sending out reminders, wearing masks on campus. I understand that wasn't going on in some campuses, but she's very vigilant and very concerned to keep everybody safe. So good on you, Lisa. Cherish it, because like I said, I'm hard on you. So appreciate when I do give the props. I want to thank the community for all their inputs tonight. Understand we do listen to them all, but some of you can help us out. You know, there's a lot of statements when you put in the emails, like I think one of them was the AV COVID rate is high for classified staff. Well, that's the generic statement. If you put it in there, you had to hear that from somewhere. So give me data. I'm going to make decisions data driven. And so give me that data if it's out there. So whoever does that, that's good inputs. That's good for us to know. But if I know it's one person versus 50 people, that's a different story. So give me some data to help make those decisions. Teleworking, can I say teleworking, or do I need to say remotely working, Mr. Quellman? He uses remotely, I'll say teleworking. It's an interesting animal, okay? And it's interesting all over the world because all companies, all workplaces is going through that struggle of who can telework, whose career field is best set up to telework, and whose career field is not set up to telework. And it's hard. It's hard decisions sometimes, you know, of what can be done and what can't be done. But everybody also struggles with, if you can't telework and you don't want to come to work, how do you get paid? Okay. There's a lot of suggestions in the meetings, and this is just my opinion. And yes, I'm running for election again, but I'm not going to back down. You all know me, and I'm going to say what it is. Okay. By suggesting some of your suggestions, as well, I'll take for example, we have custodians. Some of them work Monday, Tuesday. Some of them work Thursday, Friday. Folks, realize what your suggestion in that particular statement is a furlough. Understand that. I mean, those are all good inputs, but understand what you're saying. You're saying, hey, I don't want to work those 2 days. This is just my humble opinion. But if you look up definition, that's what it is, okay? So you're asking to be furloughed. Not saying they're going to go that way. Once again, this is my humble opinion, but I'm going to tell you like it is. When you look at the definition, that's what you're asking for. So think about ways and think about how telework may apply to you. Think about the careers that it could apply to. And I'm not saying the bridge can't be gapped, but realize what you're saying when you're putting stuff on paper. And when people that are making decisions and understand the world and understand what's going on with it, know what that is. Okay, so understand that. Sean, thank you for coming out tonight. I know this is out of your thing, and I want you to know you are valued, my man.
Thank you.
And I think that's all I have for tonight.
Let's start with you, Mr. Bennett.
Oh, man. I don't know where to start. I just want to say, I believe everybody's trying their very hardest. To say that we don't respect our second-class workers, and it just doesn't make sense to me, somebody that's worked all his life. My grandson wants to be a school teacher. He's going to college and he wants to be a school teacher. And I told him when I was young, I wanted to be a school teacher. I said, I thought it was cool. It seemed that they come to school when you did, go home when you did. They seemed to have a lot of breaks. And he had a whole summer off. I thought it'd be an awesome job. So I asked my grandson, I said, why do you want to be a school teacher? He said, I like teaching. I said, okay. I said, what's the other reason? He said, I think I want to fish all summer. I said, well, that's a pretty good idea too. That's what I thought. Get involved in the school board and that. It's a tough job, and I go back and ask him, you sure you want to be a school teacher? You got to really want to educate the children. You got to really want to teach them. He said, I really do. I think it'd be fun, challenging, and that's what he wanted to do. Unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to be a school teacher. I probably would have been, but we all take different paths in life. It's not all the same out there. I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm cruel or mean, but it's different. It's hard to explain. I mean, we're not being biased. We're not trying to show favoritism. It's just different. Yeah. If you want to think you're second class, fine, but you're not. I believe everybody's created equal. We all are hard workers. We're all trying to do something that's never been done before that I know of. And I've been online with my grandchildren. We set up a nice little classroom at my daughter's house, and we get all 6 of them. They start school and come in and they log in. And it's been a nightmare. I don't think there's one person out there that's going to disagree that this has not been fun. It's hard. I'd like the Mr. Quellman and also the superintendent to see if you can go back and talk to the teachers, because it amazed me that I actually had a couple grandchildren crying about their grades. I never cried about my grades. I knew they weren't good. I just got over it and went going. But they actually cried. They got an F. My granddaughter said, I got an F, and I just started. I couldn't even log in and take the quiz. And she said she got back in and she checked it and there was an F. And I said, well, talk to the teacher and tell her, So she was going to. I haven't heard the outcome of that, but they're really concerned about their grades. And this, what I've learned from it is, to put it bluntly, is a very poor way to educate our children. But that's what we're faced with. And it's a big challenge. And we're all, I believe all of us are doing our very best. The parents at home, the children, the teachers, the staff, everybody, I think, is really trying to do their very best. Nobody wants to do a bad job. I haven't talked to anybody that just said, I don't care. I haven't. They're all trying to come up with new solutions, new ways of doing things. And again, it's only our 6th day. Let's talk about this in a month. I think we're gonna have a lot of things worked out, and I believe Mr. Clemens, we're gonna have a lot of other things popped up. But together, I think we can get through it, and it's been really tough, so I can't wait till we meet these California Department standard that we're 14 days clean, and I like to get back to school. That's my vote. That's where I like to go with. Once we reach that, to get these kids back into school, face to face with the teachers, and doing the job that the teachers do. Again, with the I don't want anybody to feel bad. It does seem like there's a little difference there, but it's different classifications. I don't want to be, I'm not a well-educated, can't put fancy words together, but I went to school and became a person that dug holes for a living, and I didn't expect to be a president of a company. It's that simple. We all are classified differently. We all have different jobs to do. Some can be done at home, some can't be done at home. I hope we can come to some kind of decision to where we can help each other and benefit everyone. But I really don't see how. I mean, I don't know how we can do it. The air conditioner's got to be fixed here at the site. They can't be taken home and fixed.
Take them from home.
I mean, it's simple stuff. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm just harsh and that, but I understand though. I really, truly understand the frustration. But we just got to keep fighting and playing along, and we can get through this. And Mr. Quillen, again, I want to thank you, and I really look forward to seeing you here. I value your opinion. I believe you're honest and you're really going out to do your very best. But again, in times like this, I beg and plead with you to get a hold of your teachers. And this is a time that we must trust them and their integrity. So thank you so much, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bender.
Mr. Bender, if I could follow up on your question, we got a text message from Rosie in food service on how many meals were served, and she said 759 meals were served today. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's 2,277 meals.
Thank you for that, Ms. Jonathan. Mr. Harris?
I just want to thank Mr. Quillman for all his comments tonight. And I know a lot of the people who sent letters in are just frustrated because this is a very frustrating time. They just have to bear with us. We are forced into this, not by our own choosing. It's just going to take time to get it all figured out. Hopefully it doesn't last that long and we can be back in school because that's where kids learn the best. It's just frustrating. A lot of people would love to go back to work and they can't. Just businesses that are actually having to close up and be gone because they can't afford to keep going the way they're going. So just hang in there. We'll get through this and we'll go on and continue on with our lives like we've always have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'd just like to say that welcome to everybody that's tuning in. Thank you to the teachers, administrators, classified, and everyone else that I did not mention, but I just want to say that it is a new way of life now. and it is frustrating, but, I think that if we work together and try and do the best that we can, we have Mrs. Things here that, she's doing a super job, and I know that it's hard for her as well. But we trust her opinions and her, advice, so, she, talks with us and she gives us all feedback on what's going on. And, I just want to thank her for the tough job that she's having to go through, so thank you for that. Next we have Dr. Carol Robinson, waiver to open elementary schools.
First of all, I do want to comment on paying back the money to Kern County. And I want to remind everyone that all of the difficult decisions had to be made before Barbara came. Leanne had to, stepping in as our interim superintendent, she had to field all of the negative comments and things. So I just want to thank you because you were instrumental in helping us get to where we are now. And you were working with Kern County all the time, and they were, so you took the brunt of it, so thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to know why our little district is being held to the same exact standards as Bakersfield, which is a large metropolitan area. And so I did some research and found out that there is a waiver that you can get. And you have to meet certain requirements. So I did some research and found out that in California, in mid-July, there were 7,100 COVID cases in hospitals. And as of last Sunday, now in all of California, there's 4,975 cases, which means that the number of people being hospitalized with COVID is going down. So that was good news to me. In Kern County, we have had a total of 27,000 COVID cases. And this last week, when I was collecting this information, there were 180 new cases and 12 new deaths. And 10 of the cases were non-residents. That means people that were traveling through, going from LA to San Francisco or whatever and got sick while they were here. So I was just trying to get some information. There have been 128,000, a little more than that, 82% of the tests being done are coming back as negative. 17% as positive, and the rest are in that they haven't been finished or, they're in a kind of limbo zone. But, and you have to understand that we are testing more people, and therefore more people will be identified. And so even in doing more and more tests, the numbers are still coming down. They're still high, and Kern County is still on that list. But I called the Kern County Health Department and said, we are a small rural district. Why are we counted with Bakersfield and Shafter, who had a huge outbreak? And she told me that there is a waiver that you can get And so I got the documentation on the waiver, and I just want to explain what the waiver is all about. First of all, it says that permits schools to reopen for in-person instruction if they're located in a local health jurisdiction that has not been on the county monitoring list within the prior 14 days. And so the lady at the health department, her name's in a different note, her name was Jasmine something, I wrote it down on another paper. Anyway, she said that if we apply for a waiver, they can look at just our statistics apart from all of Kern County, just our zip code. And so when we apply for a waiver, just be looking at our zip code, how many cases are in our zip code. And as far as I could tell, there are 20 active cases in our zip code. So, so anyway, let me tell you about the waiver process. The California Department of Public Health recommends the threshold be 2 times that you get on the list if you have 200 cases per 100,000 population. And so if you have that, like Bakersfield does, you can't be considered for the waiver. But if we are considered as our own zip code, we would probably qualify for a waiver. The way that works is that we fill out, well, actually, our applicant is the superintendent. So she would have to fill out this very, very complicated form explaining all of the things that we have done, the face masks, the cleaning, disinfecting, the social distancing, the movement within the school. All of that, she'd have to explain all of that in a document. Also, she would need to have meetings with our 2 local unions to discuss the waiver process and get input from them. So she'd need to talk to the Teachers Association and the West High Association. So our local health organization is the Kern County Health Department. And we would submit this waiver to them. They would review it. They would look at our local numbers within our zip code, and they would decide whether to send it on to the state of California, the California Department of Public Health. And then they send their recommendation on to the California Department of Health. And from the time that they receive it, we cannot open any schools for 14 days. Now, who this would affect, the waiver can only be in effect for TK classes through 6th grade. So that means that at Tropico, if the waiver was in place, the 6th graders would come back, but not the 7th and 8th graders. So, let's see. Anyway. So Are there any questions about the waiver, anything that I've forgotten? I just wanted to get it out there that this is available. Now, after we get a waiver, we still can do the ABAB that we had voted on before. We don't have to go back to full classes, or we can, decide whatever's best for our community. So, but that's the waiver process.
Any questions?
No.
Oh, there's one more thing.
Okay.
I wanted to bring up the fact that they're doing COVID testing at the library and tell you how that works, because different agencies are doing testing, but the testing at the library is run through state funds. And some of the testing is drive-through testing where they just swab you. That is not what that is. In order to be tested at the library, first of all, everything is free to all residents, children and adults. They are open Tuesday through Saturday, 7 to 7. And if you have health insurance, they will charge your health insurance. But if you don't have health insurance, it's still going to be free. But you can't just drive up. You must go on to this website and register. And you have to fill out a big form that asks you, have you been here in this many days, and a bunch of questions, and then get an appointment, and then you can go in and be tested. So the website is lhi.care/COVID testing. That may not quite right, but anyway, I wanted to let everybody know what that process was. If you want to get tested.
Okay, back to the waiver. I'm not sure whether we need to discuss that as board members now, or if we want to pursue it, or if we want to bring it up on another subject, or.
It's not an actionable item
No,
on
I
our,
know, but I just was wondering about how they feel about whether we should put it back on the agenda. That's what I'm talking about. I just kind of.
Right now, I think we need to just get through our MOUs and get stuff squared away. And then, see what the governor has to say, and, because he's gonna review it anyways. So let's not try to, cut off our nose in spite of our face.
well, this was
Let's
just
just wait.
informational
Yes,
anyway.
thank you.
So then we bring it back then.
We'll discuss it at another time.
Yeah, if it's taken us 3 to 4 weeks to get the MOU for distance learning.
Yeah.
This one's gonna take us to 2021. Honestly. Hey, right?
I agree.
So I have a feeling we're just gonna go, if we stick with our plan of 9 weeks and reevaluate, we're probably gonna get in the classroom quicker than trying to get an MOU pushed through up for this.
Well, the thing
I think we
is,
know that.
if the governor is saying, still no classes in Kern County, unless we have a waiver, we have no choice except to just have distance learning. We will not have any other choice.
When they look at our zip code, is it strictly Rosamond zip code, or is it?
No, it's 93560, so it
Okay,
would include Willow Springs and
but they won't include any
Willow
numbers
Springs is in
from
that same
AV.
Nothing from
Yeah.
there, no.
No,
I just wrote.
just 93560.
Just wrote.
Okay. We'll
Okay, we'll just go through.
Continue.
Okay. Consent items, A through E.
make a motion that we accept all items.
Do you have any questions on, okay, no, okay.
I wanted to know what happened with the Avid, um, we were looking at that again. Well, what difference did we find?
So the difference is we ended up taking the 2 elementary schools off. We felt that with our distance learning, it was gonna be really difficult to get that going. But we are going to have Avid at Tropico and at the high school.
And I've seen a lot of comments from parents about notebooks and planners and how they didn't have it. They were supposed to fill something out, but they didn't have them, so.
I'm not sure about the school site planners. They may be, and I think I saw some of those same comments. But I think maybe they were on back order, so the school sites didn't, maybe Tropico and the high school didn't actually pass them out. But I will look into it.
Yeah, because the kids are feeling they're being required to do something, they don't have the tools to do it. So. Some of them.
We
And I
talking
think-
planners or binders?
I think maybe a little bit of both, but I think that Avid really has gone away from even the in-hand binder to more e-binders type things, loading things into lockers, so to speak. So, but I'll check in with the teacher.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a motion by the chair, second by,
Thanks, Lee.
all in favor?
Aye.
Business and operations. This is for 2021 California Department of Ed District Consolidated Applications.
Thank you. This is just an information item to demonstrate that we have submitted the necessary assurances to the state of California, that's on the federal government, that we intend to apply for the title funds, Title I, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And, the board took action when we last met to state their intention to move forward and access these funds. And so this is a critical funds for our district. Title I, we receive over $1.2 billion every year. And then in targeted funds, we receive a significant amount for supporting our English learner population as well as our homeless population through Title I. So that's what this is, just simply a disclosure of the submitted assurances and application, getting applications for the consolidated application funds.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is review and revise the board policy 9270 conflict of interest code in accordance with the Political Reform Act of 1974, previous approved by November 2018. This is a second reading and approval of the ED 0470 COVID-19 mitigating plan, Ms. Gaines.
Let me discuss first A, which is the board bylaws on the conflict of interest code. This is the second time that we're bringing the conflict of interest code to you. If there are no changes that the board would like to see in place on the conflict of interest E9270, then we will just bring this back and update it, the date, but with no significant changes.
I didn't see any changes that need to be made.
Yeah, I really didn't notice anything myself, but it's pages 42 through 45, but it does need to be updated. And approved.
Okay, so, your motion,
I make a motion.
Sandra, second,
Second.
Dr. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
And next on the agenda,
Is the second reading and approval of Board Policy 0470 COVID-19 Mitigation Plan. This is your second time that we've had this on the board agenda, and primarily just talks about all of the protection and distancing and everything that the district will be doing to prevent the spread of COVID-19 among our employees, et cetera.
this is the second reading, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the COVID-19.
Gutierrez, second by
Second.
Dr. Robinson, all in favor?
Aye.
Second reading and approval of board policy, games.
Yes, President Sanchez, this is the second review. If you have any questions regarding the options there, the third option was because we have our SELPA through the county office. That's why option 3 applies to us. On the uniform complaint procedures on the administrative reg 1312.3, we chose option 2. The board selected option 2 because the board wants to hear any appeals that might be made to the uniform complaint. So we will be bringing any appeals to the board for their review. So this is for board approval tonight.
Do I hear a motion?
And motion
Dr. Robinson, second by
I'll second it.
Gutierrez, all in favor?
Aye.
First review and readings of board policy listed.
Yes, these are new board policies that that we are reviewing for the first time. We're presenting to you for review for the first time. They're pretty much, one of them, AR 5145.3, it talks a lot about discrimination and harassment, which aligns with Mrs. Hargis's Title IX. And so I made her the contact for this administrative reg. Everything else is pretty administrative reg 6173.4, Title VI Indian Education Program. It primarily talks about an Indian education program if we were on Indian lands. So it's not really applicable to us.
That was just all informational.
Yes.
So curriculum and instructions, the annual revision prognosis and uniform complaint and Williams complaint forms, policy and procedures, Ms. Hargis.
These are just annual notices. So our Williams complaint forms, there's a classroom notice, and that goes into every classroom within the district. And there are no changes to that form this year. Also, the Williams complaint procedures, those are just in the event. There's a few different areas that someone could file a uniform complaint, and that, or not uniform complaint, a Williams complaint, and that would be insufficient materials. It would be facilities that are not in good working order, teacher vacancies, those kinds of things. So then we have the Williams complaint form that is also in the packet. There were no changes to that either. And then also the policies and procedures that just let people know, what they need to do to complete those. There were no changes to the Williams complaint procedure at all this year. Uniform complaint, the only change to that is they added the consolidated application to the uniform complaint, but other than that, it also remained the same. So it's just something that needs to be approved every year by the board.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the personal complaint, the revision.
Motion by Chair, second by
Thanks, Lee.
Lindsay. All in favor?
All right.
Personnel items, I have some corrections to, personnel items. On page 6. For, Debbie McVeigh, grade level chairperson, should read special ed instead of 5th grade. And then Deborah check. The spelling is CECH. The correction. Have any questions?
Just all these stipends can be worked in distance learning. That's my only concern. They all can be accomplished on distance learning. We're giving out a stipend, the job can be completed, right?
Ms. Haynes?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Bender, we believe that they can be done. We're still requiring teachers, although the MOU, as you've heard, is not finalized, but the goal of having teachers present on Wednesdays, all teachers present on campus on Wednesdays, allows for even Zoom professional learning communities until we reach the point that we are back on campus with all staff members. So, there will still be times that we need to have our SST student study teams, still focusing on student issues and making sure we're meeting the needs of our students. And our grade level and department chairs primarily lead the work at the professional learning communities. So those are needed as well.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Bender, second by Dr. Robinson. All in favor?
Aye. Sir?
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Super.
I make that motion. I never make that motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second by
Thanks, Lee.
Dave Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
At 9:01. Thank you.